I'm joined now by Tylik McMillan in Washington and Denise Richards in Derby. Hello to you both. I'd love to start, Denise, with you. We're talking about the protests, and I know you might be going on a protest. Tell us what you'd like to achieve.
I constantly talk about the fact that what is happening in the States is awful, what's happened to George. It's great to see that people have really pulled together, black, white, everybody's pulling together for this. But I have to turn this inward and look at what's happening here in the UK. And that is where I live, and this is what I've got to deal with. And I suppose the impetus and drive has come from the death of George. So I try to take a very holistic view, and I'm looking at the whole matter in terms of what we can do in terms of moving it forward. So my conversations tomorrow are not just about the police, it's about health, it's about education, it's about all those things that form the picture of why we are living in a society where white privilege in the UK is so dominant, it's affecting lives.
Tylik McMillan, across in the United States, obviously George Floyd's death has had a huge impact in America, but as you've seen from Denise there, it's had a huge impact in this country as well. I wonder your reaction to what Denise was saying.
Yeah, I think it brings awareness to not only the issues in our criminal justice system, but it brings issues of justice when it comes down to education, when it comes down to healthcare, when it comes down to minorities owning businesses. This is just a broader spectrum of what we see, and it's such an honor to see solidarity around not only in the United States, but seeing solidarity around the globe, where folks are saying they're standing up and speaking truth to power, and it speaks volume. And we over here in the United States see people across the globe and are very appreciative because we are all in this together.
Tylik, what has been the impact on you of the last couple of weeks?
Yes, I mean, it's a very, being a black man in America, I see the realities that I could be the next George Floyd. My father could be the next George Floyd. My little brothers can be the next George Floyd. So it brings the issue to the forefront that this is a real issue. And since 1619, we have seen when the first slaves were brought to America, we have seen systems in place that disproportionately affect communities and black people in this country. And so here, as we see across the globe, folks are saying enough is enough and standing up and speaking truth to power and asking for those demands and asking for actions. Folks aren't requesting justice, but people are demanding justice.
Denise, in the UK, I wonder if you could just tell us a little bit about your life and perhaps some of the struggles or discriminations you have faced.
Living here in the UK, I mean, I smile because I think my first recognition of what racism looked like was when I was aged 10 years old. And I entered a competition at school, and I wanted to apply for the role of Snow White in the Seven Dwarfs. And I auditioned for Snow White, and I was the best singer, and I didn't get the part. And 3 or 4 years later, when I went back to the school, I remember the teacher telling me that it was so controversial that the fact that they couldn't make that decision about having a black Snow White. And that's when I started realizing what life could potentially be about. And so as a black person living here in the UK, I have seen racism directly and indirectly. And I've seen how it has broken down individuals, how it has destroyed families, and, you know, through education, through work, through health. But it's something that society here in the UK doesn't seem to recognise, and that's because it's not something for them to recognise, because they actually hold the power. The power that you hold and you wield over us is what's actually preventing the change. And the change that needs to happen is in your hands. It's not in ours, because we don't hold the power. So we now are looking at things very differently, and it's now time to turn up the volume, because how we see it is that as people, that you like our rhythm, but you don't really work with our blues. And that is really where we're at. So it's time to turn the volume up and stop the softly, because we've been at Groundhog Day for far too long. Governments, current, previous governments have never taken us seriously. The world is showing you how serious it is. And we're going to have to show you what we're going to do in terms of making sure that we become a more level plane. Gone are the days that we're going to be menu items. We need to be at the table with those with privilege.
Tylik, you were nodding along.
Yeah, I think she said it so beautifully, and we're here that we deserve not just the half a cup, but we deserve the whole cup, and we're here, as I said before, not asking for justice. We're not here to negotiate justice, but folks are here to demand justice and holding folks accountable. We would like to see legislation in place. We would like to see policies in place. We're tired of the apologies. We're tired of the sorries, but we want to see action.
Tylik, you're obviously a young man. Talk us through your ambitions for your own life.
Yes. So I started off at a very young age, and I began working for Reverend Al Sharpton and National Action Network at the age of 13. And now being 23 years old, I grew up in a family about social justice and being dragged out to these meetings with my family. And I saw it as my responsibility and my duty. I feel like it's my civic duty as a member of society to speak up when I see something is wrong, and to use my voice to elevate the voices of those who may need their voices heard.